for the 3 people that watch this on YouTube. Friends from work, we're back. We're here today to talk about the best live action Joker. I have no idea how we're going to do this. Stay tuned. Let's chat.
Everybody come on, let's get down. Get down.
I got a little finger happy there that I was like, nope, no, we have to play that song because the artist is here. Freekbass, what's up, buddy?
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Good. What's going on,
man?
Hey, Bob Cesca, what's up, dude?
Hi, doing great. Doing great. It's great to be here. I'm
It's
a little bit, it's just right after the weekend. For some reason, I didn't sleep very well last night, so this should be interesting. I should be pretty groggy and incoherent, just like I am right now. So
I can't tell at all, and you look fabulous. And I was telling him off mic, Freekbass, that the fact that he's not the world's most famous political analyst on radio is a damn shame. And speaking of celebrity, we have Mr. TikTok in the house who was just telling us he's up all night streaming for the fans around the world. What's going on with that, dude?
Oh man, I mean, it's like every night. My show's every single, well, except Saturday. So I do Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern time, and I'm up late making funky music. So and when I'm done with the show, I'm hyped. So that's when I catch up on all my superhero action about 2:38. And Bob knows because I texted him right when I become an avid bike rider. And guess when I go bicycling? Oh, about 1:30 a.m. 2 in the morning.
Oh my God! So instead of calling the show "Friends from Work," you should just call it "Friends with Insomnia."
That's right.
That's the new name. That's
I
the
love
name
it.
for
My neighborhood, it's it's a lot of dead ends and cul-de-sacs. So at nighttime, I mean, it's actually the best time to, obviously the weather's great, and mentally, it's I love it's, as you know, Bob, from riding. It's just like it's the place you can kind of, especially after being stuck in front of a screen for 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's the place to clear your head. So I love it.
Therapy.
And Freak, and I'm still in the business. I'm not a full-time operator anymore. I can't do it. I just can't, not with 5 collective kids and Dallas to Houston back and forth constantly. But for 20 years of my life, I was running restaurants, bars, owning them, running them, whatever I was doing. And I can just remember sometimes getting home, sometimes at 4 in the morning, because your bar closes at 2. You don't get out of there till 3:30.
Yeah.
And you get home at 4 and you're just up. Like, you can't just go to sleep. So I can't even imagine just doing what you're doing with your music and that passion and then going right to bed. That's impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah, it's a weird lifestyle, but it's it's the year, it's 2020, very 2023,
It's very 2023.
Yeah.
Speaking of impossible, I think that's a great segue. I have no idea how this topic has been making me lose sleep. Speaking of lose sleep, this is tying in beautifully to our lead in here. So we at Friends from Work here, Brian and Courtney and I are all 3 actors, and so we've been very careful about doing podcasts, maybe more so than most people, because there's just been a lot of restrictions that we want to honor the strike and SAG and everything like that, and our agent's request. And so we have not been doing anything. And so I just wanted a topic that was just something we could talk about that was not in any kind of conflict or anything like that. And Freekbass and I were texting, and you came up with this topic, and it was, hey, best live cinematic Joker. Let's just talk about that. And I thought, how the hell are we going to do that? How are we going to choose the best live action cinematic Joker? And I'm not sure if I have yet. I think I'm going to go last, and I'm going to choose at the very last minute because it's like a 4-way. It's like a 4-way tie. Yeah. Well, he's going to have to go first because it was his idea. So, in approaching this, and I can say this, and I feel safe that I can speak for all of us, is that it's so hard sometimes in these sort of topics because the Jokers are representing the material that they had and the time that their material came out. And so how do you compare Cesar Romero to Jared Leto? How do you even do that?
Right.
And to me, that was the most challenging thing. And every one of them, in my opinion, there's never been a bad one, do represent their what's the word I'm looking for? Help me out here, guys. Their film, their project, the director and writer's vision for what they were trying to accomplish and their time.
Yeah,
But
and also the zeitgeist of the time too, because I one of my favorite memes about the whole Batman universe is the one that goes through the 4 big live action Jokers, and starts out with Cesar Romero's Joker and says, "Okay, that's LSD." Then Jack Nicholson is cocaine, and then Heath Ledger is heroin, and Jared Leto is meth.
Wow.
That's kind of, you can kind of draw that parallel. I think that works.
So what do we do with Joaquin Phoenix then? What is he? I know he's not on that meme, but what would he be?
Xanax. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something that like serious antipsychotic meds, some sort of pharmaceutical, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, you know what just dawned on me? I just hit me. What is the actor's name that plays him in the Batman? It's more of the deleted scene, but it's Barry.
Oh, Barry Keoghan,
Barry
right?
Keoghan,
Barry,
Keoghan. Yeah.
Man, that deleted scene is great. I want to see more. I want to see more of that Joker.
Yeah.
Bob, what do you think of that scene? Do you think that should have been in the film, or what do you think?
You know what? I'm glad that it wasn't in the film, because it's very easy for Joker to eclipse every other villain in a movie. And I think I like the idea of starting out and keeping it simple and narrowing the scope of the villains. And that's the way it should have been. And then we can see Barry, is it Keoghan? Oh, I don't know. We're just
Kogan. Yeah.
I read these names all the time. I never say them out loud because the only time I get to do that is on this show.
The story of my life.
Yeah. Barry Keoghan, let's wait on him. I think he's going to be featured in the second movie. So that'll be something to look forward to. We don't want to, blow through all the villains in one film, but he was great. I mean, the scene that I saw was amazing and shocking, because his face is more messed up than any Joker face that we've seen so far
in live action.
Yeah, he's pretty wrecked. So I'm interested to see what that face looks like in broad daylight or some sort of lighting, so we get the whole flavor of just how messed up he is, and whether Batman we get a little him or what.
He's actually in the real film. I mean, I know it's a different scene, but we get that little teaser of him, and that wasn't the real film, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's a little bit of him.
That little teaser. Yeah.
You see him a little bit, and then obviously you hear him at the laugh. He's talking to the Riddler.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good scene. I'm not sure if he should have even been in it at all. I don't know. I'm torn on that. But that deleted scene is great. I'm glad he wasn't in the film too. I think it would have messed up the flow. But I love that there's a history there with them already, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Really cool stuff. But I'll just say, I guess I just inadvertently left him out, because I guess it's fair to say Freak, right? God bless them, is great. Can't wait to see him in Batman 2. But let's say that he just doesn't count because he's barely in the Batman, and that was a deleted
Sure, of course. Right.
All right, fair to say. All right, since you put us to this impossible task, you, my friend, Bob and I spoke off camera. We both agreed that you have to go first. No, we actually did. But you do. Please, because I don't know what I'm going to say yet.
No worries.
I have no idea.
Well, let me start off by saying, and Rick, you and I talked about this when we started texting about this. It's on top of, Riddler being my favorite character in comic book movie world. And you guys correct me both if I'm wrong, but I don't think another superhero / supervillain has ever won an Oscar before, and now we have one that's won. The same characters won 2 separate Oscars by 2 separate characters. So that just tells you the source material right there, how strong it is to begin with, like where everybody wants to play this part too as well. Also, quickly, we were mentioning TikTok before. I actually, on my show, we do polls throughout the show. And I told everybody on last night's show, I told them about your podcast, and I'm going to be on today, and we're going to talk about Joker. So we did a poll on there. So before I tell you what my pick is, I'm going to tell you, and I was kind of shocked here. I actually have the exact numbers here, right here. And I, of course, always just assume when it's kind of mainstream, it's going to be Heath's going to win out, just because of, and the demo people watching me are everybody from 18 to 65. It's like everywhere. TikTok's such a huge demographic. So actually, old Jack won. Jack Nicholson won in that. So not overwhelmingly. It was 45% for Jack Nicholson. Heath came in second. Joaquin and Caesar both tied, and Jared got 0. So
Poor Jared.
yeah.
Is it fair to say Jared's on nobody's list? Can we say that?
Yes, but I did love the Zack Snyder Justice League little addition tag on that. I thought that was really, really good. Yeah.
I love that scene.
Yeah.
It's my favorite things about the Justice League cut, the Snyder cut, whatever you want to call it. Sorry. I really do. I think it's a great scene. And I thought he was underrated. And let's give him credit. He's the first Joker also to be in live action with Harley Quinn, which is cool.
Oh, yeah, true.
That's right. And I think, you know what? I think he would have received more votes if maybe his role would have been more substantive in Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad was a terrible movie, the first one.
Yeah.
At least the current studio edit of
Right.
it is. I mean, it remains to be seen what the air cut looks like. But that movie was not good. So it's very difficult for someone playing that role to find any meat to it. I mean, the great thing about Joker is it's sort of like the modern day Hamlet. Like every actor wants to take a shot at playing this character.
Yeah.
And it requires more depth. You have to explore what the character's all about. You just can't put freak on screen, not President Company accepted, but you can't just put a guy who's a freak on screen and then assume that people will gather and enjoy that character or be freaked out by that character.
Right.
You need to explore the psyche of Joker a little bit more, get into the depth of it for anything to latch onto as a fan. And we saw that with all the other live action Jokers. We just didn't get that a whole lot with Jared Leto. And I think it's partly in the same realm as Barry Keoghan.
Yeah.
Because he was hardly on screen enough for us to make a judgment call on if he's any good. I thought Jared Leto's Joker looked interesting and unique and unlike the previous Jokers that we had seen. Damage tattoo aside,
right.
So there was potential there for Jared Leto's Joker that was unexplored, and as you guys said, we did get a taste of that in the Snyder cut of Justice League. So, maybe a little bit more would have improved Jared Leto's chances in this discussion, but,
For sure.
I agree with most of that. I would push back a little bit. Well, not push back. It's just my own opinion, but I like actually the first 45 minutes of that movie. A lot, actually.
Suicide Squad?
I do. Now it falls apart badly. I mean, the last half is trash, but the first half I think is actually great. I think it has one of the best live action Batman scenes.
That is
seriously.
You know what? You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Yep.
He and Will Smith. That's actually a really great scene.
Well, and obviously, Margot Robbie, Harley Quinn, she made that character iconic in that movie, pretty much.
Yeah,
she did.
Yeah,
she did. So yeah, I think we all agree there was potential there, and if he popped up somehow somewhere, I would not be upset about it at all. I did not dislike him as the Joker, but I agree with Bob that the source material itself was too flawed, and I think obviously there was a lot of things that were cut out. I would love to see. We're in this world of cuts, Snyder cut, Schumacher cut, David Ayer cut. But still, I would love to see the Ayer cut. So I like the stills I've seen of the Joker. It looks very interesting.
Yeah.
So anyway, Jared Leto's a great actor. A missed opportunity for that Joker, but maybe we'll see him again. But he left a mark. I think that Snyder scene cut, that shot is pretty fantastic.
Yep.
Anyway, okay. All right, buddy. How did you get to your number one pick?
So it was obviously incredibly tough. I was even kind of had one little foot dipping in the Cesar Romero camp for a little bit, just because, we like to joke about him. Excuse that pun, but I don't know if we would have any of these Jokers had he not kind of created that almost kind of on-street persona to begin with. He kind of set the table really for all of them in a way. I also want to say, before I tell you my choice has a little bit of an asterisk, because a lot of it, this choice could change depending on what happens in Joker 2. If this movie ends up being incredible and as bonkers as it looks like it might be, because I love Joker, the movie Joker. I've watched it I know a lot of people I don't think it's got a great rewatchability factor. I disagree. I've watched it 7, 8, 9 times. I mean, I just that journey that you go on with Joaquin is just incredible, and the transition from who he starts off in the movie to the final scene when he's with De Niro in like the Johnny Carson type talk show.
It's a great scene.
Oh, it's incredible, you know. And I love King of Comedy. So I mean, I know it's, you know, it's not exact King of Comedy, but you know, that's one of my favorite Scorsese movies of all time. And but with that all said, there ultimately can only really be one choice for me. It's this guy right here.
Mr. Ledger.
I mean, I know it's probably the stock, more generic answer, but he just the scene, I think one of the best, maybe all-time movie scenes of all time, with the "You Complete Me" scene when they're Batman's interrogating him, because that moment you can just see, and Bale's so good. Bale gets so underestimated in this scene too, as well, just because Heath Ledger's so incredible about it. But you can just see in Ledger's eyes, him looking at him like, "You've won." Like he knows he's lost. There's no beating this guy. Like he's looking at Joker, it's like there's no beating this guy. And the fact that there'd been a whole preceding movie before that where we've, you know, they've developed this character that Christian Bale has so brilliantly done, and that Ledger is able to rise above that and with his interpretation of the character and still kind of have one foot in fantasy and one foot in reality. I mean, I know he doesn't have the perma white thing, and that was always like a point of contention with a lot of people online, whether it should be what it should be or not. But the way that he's just able to embody the character and just how freaking scary. I mean, even now you watch that scene, especially the scene with the like the terrorist scene when he's got the pseudo Batman there, you know, that scene is like terrifying still. You know,
very
especially
shocking,
and now the way things are happening in our society for real. I mean, you could see something like that.
Look at me.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, exactly.
He does that demonic, and then he goes to laughing. And in that scene, you hear him laughing more than you do throughout any point in the movie. He's very Joker.
Right.
Oh, he's got the mask. He's doing that.
Just, I mean, there's really no beating, you know, I mean, but again, with the asterisk, I mean, because Joaquin, I mean, two different interpretations of the same character. I've heard a lot of people criticize the Joaquin character, saying that he doesn't seem smart enough to be the Joker. I've heard that a lot. Like he doesn't seem like the character doesn't, where, you know, Heath's version, obviously he's as much crazy as he is, he still seems brilliant, you know, like he's probably got like incredibly high IQ, where I've heard some people say that Joaquin doesn't seem like his IQ is at the level to be a Joker, but the way he interpreted him, which I don't agree with, because the way that, and especially the way it ends up being that final scene with at the you know, at the talk show that we were talking about earlier. But again, the Ledger thing, that was a game changer movie wise. You know, I mean, obviously you've got the best director and maybe the history of cinema, or one of the best directors, excuse me, in the history of cinema, directing you too. So yeah, I just couldn't pass that. That was as generic as the answer might be. There's just, it is what it is, you know.
The interrogation scene is one for the history books. And my favorite line and that whole thing, I think, is "Kill you. What would I do without you?"
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's so good.
I mean, it just gives me chills, because they are, in my opinion, I think Batman is the greatest fictional character of all time. I'll die on that hill. And part of the reason why is because of his number one arch nemesis. That juxtaposition, that visual of a man dressed as a bat fighting a crazy clown, like it transcends. It just does. That will be popular 100 years from now.
The other thing real quickly is, and I know you guys have seen this, but like the way that Ledger, you know, he had to wear the prosthetic, obviously with the scars, and how he had to kind of, I think he was like had to lick his lips to kind of keep it so it didn't dry out, and he kind of incorporated that into the character, you know, with the little tick that he had. I mean, just so incredible.
He was heavily involved in developing the makeup. Heath Ledger sat in a hotel room, I think, on his own, really pouring over this character and making it unique to himself. And I think developing the makeup himself apart from the prosthetic scars, I lent what I was saying before, that depth to the character. He felt lived in. He felt like
Right.
that this guy had been around for a while. By
Well,
the
in
time
that
he
very first
emerges at
scene,
the bank heist, yeah.
well, I was to say the very first scene we
Yeah.
see him in the movie from the back, we don't even see his face from the
Right,
back,
right,
and just
right.
his little bit of a crooked shoulder kind of stance there. It's like you're like, oh man, this
Oh,
guy is
yeah.
bad news. You can just
that's
tell from
yep.
just the back of him. Yeah.
And if I may, and Bob, I want to throw this at you and tell me if you
Sure.
agree with this. I think one of the things that's brilliant about the Nolan trilogy also is how, and I wrote an article about this years ago that I was quite proud of, saying comic book purists will say that this veered away too much from the comics, and I completely disagree. I think that what Nolan brilliantly did is he took the comics and he just twisted them and made them grounded. So
Yeah.
no, Joker wasn't perma white. A perma white implies obviously that something happened, that he's permanently Joker physically. So
Yeah.
what he did instead of that, because it wouldn't make sense in this world, is that he is permanently marked as Joker with the scars
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
face,
Right.
and that's the perma white for that movie. But would
Right,
you agree with that, Bob?
Yeah, oh yeah, exactly. And we can look at a parallel, something like Dracula or Frankenstein's monster or something like that. It would be weird if fans of the Universal monsters we're getting really militant about how every Frankenstein should now have like a flat top head and the bolts
Right.
coming out of the neck. No,
Sure.
you want to give director, writer, the actors some sort of latitude in terms of putting their own stamp on a character like that. And so I guess that leads me to where I land on this particular topic, which is that I think Heath Ledger, for my money, is the best Joker. But I think my favorite Joker is Jack Nicholson. To coincide with your,
I'm not mad
poll.
about it.
Yeah. Well, I say that but my one caveat, my one nitpick is that the makeup hasn't held up as well over the years. It's still, I can kind of see it now. And maybe that's because I've watched, as we all have, a million different making of things. And because the internet demystifies everything. So we now have the full scope of the behind the scenes
it's a great
aspect of how that all worked out. And we've seen the different iterations of it as they were developing the character. But the thing that I love about Jack Nicholson's Joker is the fact that he's got more layers to it. He's not just psychotic and angry and villainous. He's silly and devious too. There's a Cesar Romero angle in there. You can see the different aspects of Joker played out through Jack Nicholson's portrayal. So you get that silly Cesar Romero aspect of it, but then you also get the more modern, like psychotic, murderous Joker who's not afraid to incinerate someone at a board meeting or to just be a homicidal maniac. So there's that sort of Heath Ledger aspect of the Joker character in there too, obviously coming way before that. But suffice to say, I like the different dimensions of Joker playing out through Jack Nicholson. He's fun, but he's also scary as hell. Like there's that great shot, the "Wait till they get a load of me" shot,
Oh man,
which is one of the best Joker shots,
of course,
that we've ever seen. There have been several of Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight, but as far as the Jack Nicholson Joker goes, that one shot was so iconic and everything looked on point. The makeup was good, his expression, his delivery, the lighting, the cinematography, everyone was so perfect for that one shot of Joker, introducing him in the full-on persona. So, yeah, that's kind of where I land on this as far as why Jack Nicholson stands out so much. Because no matter where you come from in terms of your view of Joker, Jack Nicholson brought that. There was something there for every taste in Joker fandom. So that's where I kind of land.
That's why he got first billing.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, he was really savvy on the business side of
Absolutely,
it. I mean,
he was.
He saw something in that script and that director that I don't think anyone else saw at the time. I know the fanboys were. I mean, I can't even imagine if the internet had existed in the lead up to Batman '89. I wonder if it had done. I wonder if it would have done as well as it had if the internet had existed.
Thank God it didn't. You know, that's that scene of "Wait till they get a load of me." I remember that being in the first teaser.
Yeah,
and I remember watching an episode of Cheers. And so this was the Kirstie Alley years, because this was probably in 88 when the first teaser dropped, late 88, because it came out in June of 89, or June or July of 89. Was it July? June of 89,
June,
right?
yeah.
June, right. And I just remember going, oh my gosh, the visual of this. And at this point, I had read, some Frank Miller stuff, and I was privy to a darker Batman, obviously, but to see that on screen, and then Jack Nicholson's Joker is what really got it. And I remember, for me at that age, let's see, I was about, how old was I then? 13, 12, something like that. Yeah, 14. I don't know. I can't do math in my head. But I can remember, what was the film that Jack Nicholson did where he had all the, I guess, the witches and shares in it, and he's the
Witches of Eastwick.
Witches of Eastwick. Yeah, that was prior to that, right?
Yeah,
let me make sure I got my timeline right.
Satan. He played Satan, and it was another great,
because that was like in
Jack Nicholson as the devil.
86, 87, maybe, right? Something like that.
Yeah. I remember I was in like 10th grade or something. Yeah, I remember
so my sister and my mom loved that movie, and I remember watching it with them, and then I just made that connection that's who that was, and that also made me fall in love with Jack Nicholson's work.
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny, when Batman '89 came out, the previous summer, for some reason, kids do this when they have copious amounts of free time. We ended up watching The Shining, renting that from Errol's Video a gazillion times the previous summer. So the summer of '88. And then that whole school year, in my senior year of high school, 88 into 89, I was watching the Batman 66 TV series, because I think it was either on MTV or in syndication. I forget exactly which. It was probably syndication. And so I was my Batman fandom was at an all-time high at that point. Never higher than it was when I was 6 years old and watching Batman 66. But, when I was 12, that was a big deal, or when I was in 12th grade. And so when that movie came out, and it was so vastly different from Batman 66, and then also at the same time, it had one of my favorite actors at the time, Jack Nicholson, playing the Joker, it seemed like perfect casting. It seemed like obvious casting, especially after seeing The Shining so many times. And so, this makes perfect sense. This guy losing his mind, perfect Joker casting. And then, of course, Jack Nicholson's got that face, the perfect Joker face. And then saying something nice about the Joker makeup for Jack Nicholson, I love the idea that it kind of looks like a crappy facelift. Like he got extreme facelift in the process. So I like the origin story.
Love that Joker.
Love that Joker.
Shot in the face. Yeah, getting shot in the face and then falling into that vat of acid that, changed his skin color and his hair and so on. Brilliant. And then the idea of having him put on flesh-colored makeup over his white face.
Right.
And then saying publicly that he had taken his mask off. There was so many interesting things about that portrayal of that character. And it's no wonder then that
jumping over to the Heath thing really quick. The first time I saw Dark Knight, the scene where he's a cop, like I was like, is he doing the Jack Nicholson? Because I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be, they leave it a little ambiguous. So I was like, was he putting the Jack Nicholson makeup to become the cop, like over his, like, is he really white? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was never really clear with Heath Ledger what exactly caused those scars, because he was an unreliable narrator in terms of how that happened, and his story changed a bunch of times. So we never really found out what the hell happened to that guy that led to those facial scars, and ultimately what led him to that life of psychotic crime. I mean, so unhinged and unpredictable. That character is just so terrifying. One of the scariest, or I think the scariest portrayal of Joker.
For sure.
And, to piggyback a little bit off of your comment about, what Jack Nicholson did with that character. He was zany. He was funny. I mean, it was funny. I think what also makes that work for me is that he is the one actor outside of Joaquin Phoenix, because that's a whole kind of different black labeled thing, but out of the more traditional versions of the Joker, is that you see him as Jack Napier. You see Jack Nicholson have a performance that before he transitions into the Joker, much like we get from Todd Phillips' Joker, but in a Batman film. And I think there's something about that for myself that makes that Joker even more fascinating, and why he's I mean, he's in my top 2, and he goes back and forth, and I'll get to mine in a second. And I think I've got mine now. But I really love that we get to see Jack Nicholson play, like, for instance, the character when he's standing in front of the mirror, right? And what's her name? She's from my hometown. I should remember. She used to date Mick Jagger. She's from Mesquite, Texas. Jerry Hall.
Yeah.
Jerry Hall. What's her character's name in the movie? I'm trying to remember.
Oh God. Okay. Now,
because he says she commits suicide.
Good question.
Remember he smashes her mask to Vicky Vale.
Right.
Yeah.
That she jumped off. Whatever. She walks up and she said, "You look fine, Jack. I didn't ask."
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And then when he becomes Joker, when he enters Jack Palance's suite, his whatever that is, that amazing high-rise apartment he's living in, and he's like, "You set me up over a woman," and you can see his makeup and see that smile, and he's still sort of Jack Napier there. As he's talking to him, you set me up, you whatever. And as he walks up, he's like, "Jack is dead, my friend. And then you can call me Joker." And at that moment, that transition was complete. That was like Anakin becoming Darth Vader right there. I mean,
right.
Maybe bad analogy because he was never a good Jedi, but still the transition.
By the way, the character was Alicia. Jerry Hall played Alicia. Yeah.
North Mesquite High School. She was I went to Old Mesquite High School. Yeah. That's one of our claim to fames in my little hometown.
And she was married. Wasn't she married to our good friend at Fox News too for a short time?
Was she really? I know she dated Mick Jagger for a while.
No, well, I think who's retiring? The main guy at
Rupert
Fox.
Murdoch.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. She
might have been.
She might even be currently, or it was fairly recently. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, Mesquite's got Jerry Hall and the original Pearl Jam drummer, Dave Arbor-Zooey.
Wow.
And then
she is the fourth wife of Rupert Murdoch. They divorced last year.
Oh, is that right? There you go. Wow. All right. Well, good for her. Anyway, so yeah, I think Jack Nicholson's Joker is legendary, and for me, it's held up real nicely. Freak, when I was watching The Flash, I was still kind of hoping that maybe there would be some Jack Nicholson cameo. I know he's retired, but still, I just wanted it. I guess we got the box, though. The laughing box.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So in this conversation, I've been going back and forth between Jack Nicholson and Heath Ledger, and it's hard because they're very different interpretations. And then to give props to Cesar Romero, you said this best. Without him working, there never would have. I don't think any of this would be here.
Yeah.
And even though that show catapulted the popularity of Batman, in a lot of ways, it set it back culturally because it took a long time for Batman mainstream to break away from the zany holy this Batman and all that stuff. And by the way, it still hasn't gone away. It's still part of the vernacular, but Batman 89, paved the way for, we can talk about comics in the 80s and Frank Miller and Dark Knight Returns and all that. And that's all very valid. I'm talking mainstream, right?
Yeah.
90% of the people that see these films don't read these comics. Yes, I'm pulling that out of my ass, but it's probably pretty accurate. But so we got to give him props. And it's always fun to note, and I should have a picture of him pulled up for this, that he was so cool and so sought after. He's like, if you want me in this role, I'm not shaving my mustache.
Yeah.
And he didn't shave it. And I remember as a kid noticing that one day going, does he have a mustache?
You know what? I didn't notice it. It was something that I didn't notice until much later, until I was watching it again when I was in high school. When I was a kid, maybe it's because television sets were teeny tiny in the 70s, and I just didn't notice that he had a mustache under there.
Were you watching it in black and white?
Maybe on occasion. Yeah. But again, the resolution was not strong enough. Or you know what? Maybe I just wasn't paying attention. I just wasn't focused in on Cesar Romero's upper lip. That was just not a thing I was looking at. So maybe that's why.
And you watch the show now, and he's incredible. In fact, in a lot of ways, like, and Bob, I shared one of your best moments, the scene where Adam West is talking on the bat phone as Batman, and then to Commissioner Gordon, then he's talking on the telephone as Bruce Wayne, and he's going back and forth.
Oh, that's so good.
And then he talks to himself. Yeah.
That is genuinely badass, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, that's not you watch it now and you almost appreciate how hard that is.
That's almost Christopher Reeve, Clark Kent, Superman.
Yeah.
Level, you know
before that, before he did that. Right.
Yeah,
like, because we used to make a joke in the George Reeve Superman show that there was zero distinction, right? Like, Clark might as well have been like, all right, I'm off to lunch, guys, and just fly out of the office with
Right,
his
right.
suit on. I mean, why not? But as goofy as it was to not realize that that Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson were back Robin in that show.
Yeah.
You watch it now, and it's almost more believable as an adult. And in 2023, it's incredible because they were all just amazing. And Cesar Romero, his Joker, was incredible. Julie Newmar was amazing. Frank Gorshin was amazing. All amazing.
Because they all owned it. They
owned
owned
it.
the silliness of it and the satire of it. They
They were-
weren't always apologizing for what they were doing on television. And you've got really serious seasoned actors in many cases who maybe didn't necessarily have to do Batman and be on that show, but then they were anyway, and they knocked it out of the park. You absolutely, not for 1 second do you believe that they're just hamming it up because they get a paycheck. They were to be in it. Yeah.
They're unapologetically those characters. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great way to put it. Okay. So as we're talking, and I will be honest, I have a Heath Ledger scene just kind of pulled up. We wanted to share it and play it because I do think it's the definitive Joker scene in cinema. And Freak, you actually mentioned it. I actually have that hostage scene queued up because I think his demonic to silly to threatening to back to silly is like, it's a wild ride. But I was having a really hard time between Jack Nicholson and Heath Ledger. And both of you guys hit all the reasons why they're my top two favorites. But I'll say this for purposes of this podcast, and we do this again in 6 months, and this may change. I'm going to go with Heath Ledger because Jack Nicholson's Joker is amazing. Jack Nicholson being the Joker. Heath Ledger is Heath Ledger becoming the Joker.
Good point.
Yeah. You do not see Heath Ledger. Jack Nicholson's Joker is Jack, and I'm glad. I'm glad it is. I'm glad it exists, and I think it's bloody brilliant, and I still love it. But I think I'm going to go with Heath for the purposes of this. I think I kind of knew because I had the scene queued up, but still. And I think some of the stuff that Nolan did that made him so ambiguous. He had no origin story whatsoever, and we didn't want one or need one. Remember when Gordon is talking to the officers at the jail, or somebody's maybe talking to him? I can't remember now exactly. And they're like, he has no ID, no fingerprints. We don't know where this guy's from. No, nothing in his pockets but a pocket knife. We can't, And I thought to myself, man, that's creepy. These guys can't even find who this guy is. Does this guy even know who he is?
Yeah.
Are those stories that he's telling about his scars? Is he really just making that bullshit up on the fly? Or are these fantasies in his head that happened because it was so traumatic that I don't know. There was about to be a third story potentially at the end. Remember, he looks at Batman and says, how I got these scars? And he gets interrupted. He goes, you mean these or whatever? And he shoots.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I was like, whoa. What's that third one? If I could meet Chris Nolan tomorrow, I would say, did you have that written? What was the third version of that?
Right.
Because it's there, and I guarantee you Heath as an actor had it written if it wasn't actually on paper because he immersed himself in the role. Such
a shame. I'm sure you guys have all read that, Heath was going to be in 3 too as well. Maybe not as the main character, but he was going to be in 3. Nolan's, I'm pretty sure Nolan's come out and said that was the plan, and it's, who knows what could have been,
Yeah.
I wonder if that, I would be curious to see if Nolan has really 100% confirmed that, because at my old outlet over at BOF, I know that Bill was real involved in those, to give him a lot of credit for that era for Batman on film and the Nolan trilogy. And I know that he talked to him, and he'll say, and I hate to speak for him, but I'm saying that wasn't the case.
Oh,
and it doesn't mean that the information he has is 100% accurate. I don't know, but I will say I can't imagine in my mind, if he didn't pass away, for him not to be in there somewhere again. Even if it was a scene like we got in the Batman, where it's sort of this, he goes to see him in Arkham, and there's a
right,
because I love when he says to Batman at the end of when he's hanging upside down, he's like, you and I are destined to do this forever.
Yeah.
And so that this is not going anywhere. This demented relationship is going to continue. So that'd be something to, man, again, I'd love to talk to Chris Nolan about that. So but at the same time, Freak, I don't see how you could not have done it. I mean, really, at the end of the day, how could you have not? And I love The Dark Knight Rises, but I think about that film, and if there would have been some Joker in there somewhere, somehow, certainly wouldn't have heard it.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, what a conversation. Not a bad Joker live action to date.
Yeah, and you know what? I wanted to add that I really debated between Joaquin Phoenix and JackNicholson.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't know, Bob. I didn't know like what your opinion was on Joker the movie.
I love that movie.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
I absolutely love it. And here's one of the reasons why I knew that I loved it when I saw it. I've seen it a few times.
Yeah.
But when I saw it the first time, I went in with kind of ambivalent expectations because one of my biases is I don't really like Batman stories that don't involve Batman.
Sure.
It's one of the reasons why I couldn't get into the Gotham TV series. No Batman. And so I think that universe, the universe of Gotham City, needs Batman as the anchor, as the center point, because Batman sets the tone for everyone else, because all these other characters are designed to reflect some aspect of Batman or to be a contrast to Batman. So it's like you take that element out of the story, and then suddenly, for me at least, it's lacking. And that's just a personal bias. I'm not saying that Gotham sucked or any Batman universe story that doesn't involve Batman sucks. I'm just saying for my personal preferences. And so when I knew that the Joker didn't feature Batman, it took place when Bruce Wayne's just a young boy, I was skeptical. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, it doesn't even matter that Batman's not in this. This is a wonderful portrayal of Joker. And Joaquin Phoenix does such an amazing job carrying that movie that I didn't even realize, oh, well, there's no Batman in this story. But I could absolutely imagine where Batman could enter into this universe. And I hope we get some glimpse of Batman in the second movie, which is apparently going to be a musical. This is going to be so out there and crazy, and I think it's going to blow people away. Honest to God, think that this is going to be something else. I think it's going to do quite well. Yeah.
If I may.
Yeah.
If I may, because that movie is a mixed bag for me. And I understand why you guys love it. I don't hate it. It's like one of those things, I watched it, I've seen it twice, and after the second time, I'm like, there's some brilliant stuff in this. I don't know if I ever want to see it again. And I don't personally care that Batman's not in it, because I look at this as a offshoot universe where it's Gotham, it's Joker, but even though the Waynes are in it and Bruce Wayne, that Bruce Wayne may not necessarily become Batman. It's not what this is supposed to be about. But that didn't bother me. In fact, that was something I liked about it. And I want to revisit it. In fact, I'm going to before the sequel comes out. But I just sort of let it go. And I thought, you know what? I respect the fact that it did $1 billion and people loved it, and that's great. Didn't quite work for me, but there's no doubt that it was a fantastic work of art and talent. But for some reason, I can't even describe it. I am more excited for the sequel than I am for most sequels of movies that I loved. And I can't explain that. I think it's because I thought, leave it alone, let it be in a vacuum, don't fuck it up, don't do that. And then you see Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn, and you see you said it's a musical, and you see it's so stylized and interesting. And I'm going, I've got to see where they go with this. And she's a phenomenal talent. And and she's a fantastic actress. I was sold on the movie where she's married. She's in love with the musician, and he's
Stars Born.
Stars Born with Bradley Cooper. And
did you see the one about the fashion movie? You know, the one she's the the fashion family. One of my the one Jared's in that too as well.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, but she's
incredible.
The movie's it's got strong and weak points, but every scene she just soaks up she just dominates that screen. She's so good. Yeah,
I can't wait for the sequel. I just can't wait.
And the fact that Joaquin's doing it, that's what blows me away, because I'm sure you guys all know about the Doctor Strange thing, and he's like, got offered this massive amounts of money to do Doctor Strange, and he's like, I don't do sequels. The fact that he was be able to be convinced to do a sequel just because of his, his, you know, call it branding, call it his outlook, whatever it is, but that the Joaquin branding is not a sequel guy, and the fact that they convinced him to do this sequel, the script had to just freaking knock him out,
Yeah, and I think that's all the more reason to believe that maybe Batman's not in it, and I'm crawling inside his head way too much for a person I don't know, but I'm just speculating that.
Here's something weird I do whenever I see the Joker. Whenever he first appears on screen, whenever Joaquin first appears on screen, I do my Diane Wiest impression where I go, "Hi, Gary," from Parenthood. I can't help but to do that line from Parenthood.
That's such a great film.
He's had a hell of a career, and he was really, really good in Parenthood, just as that little kid who's jerking it all the time. Yeah,
because that's his mom, right? And she has no connection.
Diane Wiest plays his mom, and he's he goes, skulking in and out of the house. Hi, Gary.
Hi, Gary.
He goes off to his room.
Then he goes and busts up his dad's dentist office.
Yeah, right.
And then Ted Theodore Logan, same character in that.
Oh,
movie.
Yeah. That is one messed up little dude.
I think that dude's going for a world record. First masturbating.
Quickly on the transition scene, you guys have mentioned about Nicholson and the transition scene in Batman '89. I would also say I love and I call it a transition scene in Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, the bathroom scene after he kills the guys on the subway with the cello. And that's where he becomes, that's where everything snaps and he becomes Joker. Right.
It's a great
there.
scene.
Yeah.
I'm going to revisit that soon. Jen has never seen it. And that's something for, I think that's right up her alley. She likes horror films too. It's gruesome.
Yep.
Okay, cool deal. Well, listen, guys, this was a great conversation. It was a hard one. Thank you, Freekbass, for the topic.
Oh,
yay!
Great.
Always talk Joker. Yeah.
I can't wait for me to be able to afford a real producer for the show where we have people clapping and things going on. But anyway, we'll get there.
Wait, before we do we mention Mark Hamill? I think I gotta say something good about Mark Hamill and his portrayal as the animated.
And it's his birthday
Joker.
today too, right?
Is it?
I'm
pretty sure I saw that on the that little platform we sometimes hang out on. Yeah.
Well, props to Mark Hamill, because once again another Joker actor bringing his own flavor and angle on the character. That was that's one of the great things about the Joker character is I don't think any one Joker portrayal has knocked off a previous portrayal. Let's just do what Heath Ledger did, or let's just do what Jack Nicholson did. You don't really see that, and certainly Mark Hamill could have come in on the success of Batman '89 and done sort of a Jack Nicholson impression as that character. And obviously you have to give some credit to Bruce Timm for developing it. But it was a wonderful and purely psychotic portrayal of the Joker. And I thought he did have that depth to it, where the Joker in the animated series and Mask of the Phantasm was both silly and psychotic in equal parts. I think that was another angle to Mark Hamill's Joker that was really entertaining.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say real quick, I love watching him record Joker in the studio. Because you can see him in live action doing it, quite frankly.
Yeah. Can I ask you guys one final question? Thinking of the current landscape, any actor, any age, any era, whether it be like, I wish this person at this time would have, or this current actor would do it. Who would you like to see play the Joker that hasn't played the Joker yet? Who do you think would? Obviously the William Dafoe one's the one that everybody always, you've seen so many different.
That won't be mine.
Fan casting. Mine either, but I'm saying you see that. But that idea, like if there was, any era, like we can even
dead or living.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
How about a Laurence Olivier Joker? Joker that's living or dead.
Dennis Hopper.
Oh, wow. I could see that.
How about Dennis Hopper as Joker? That would have been great. Like 70s, like Apocalypse Now era Dennis Hopper.
What I would love is to take some random terrible actor like Chuck Norris and like it works brilliantly or something. That's where my mind's going. And like, the casting of John Travolta in Pulp Fiction. Who would have thought that would have worked at that time? He's revered now, but at that time, I was like, what? The Look Who's Talking guy? That ship sailed years ago. And of course, he was brilliant. And then he had his beautiful career after that. So I'm trying to also like crawl inside that mentality, right? That's why I don't like
You know
the
who
horse
else
popper.
now that the flood banks are opening here, but the floodgates. Malcolm McDowell would be another great Joker.
Oh, wow. I mean, he's pretty much is the Joker in Clockwork Orange, you know?
True, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got one, and it's going to throw everything for a loop. River Phoenix.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
That'll open up a can of worms, right?
Interesting.
Yeah. All right, cool deal. Well, okay, let's do some plugs and get out of here. Freak, where can we find you? TikTok, obviously.
Yeah, I'm at TikTok all the time. Obviously, all the other socials like everybody else. It's all under, doesn't matter, Instagram, X, Twitter, whatever you call it nowadays, Threads, all that stuff. Just at FREEKBASS. Just look me up there and it'll pop up somewhere, I'm sure.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, buddy. Mr.
Thank
Bob
you.
Cesca.
You know what? It just occurred to me, Freekbass as Joker.
That is all this music thing is. I'm telling you, it's just a front. This is all a front.
You could write your own score, your own score too.
Oh, there you go.
Now I kind of want to see that. You got to do a live stream in full Joker makeup, Freak.
Well, he does some live streams in a mask.
Yes, I do.
That's true.
Yes, consider it done. Consider it done. Yes.
You can find my podcast on my Patreon page. Actually, that's bobcescashow.com. It's right here on the screen right there. And also everywhere you get your podcasts.
And Bob, quickly, you're probably getting close. I mean, because of what's going on in the news right now, the Star Trek one, like theoretically, might be up again sometime soon. Is that true?
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I got to talk to Mary when we're going to restart that. If the actors can come to some sort of agreement and settle all of that, I think we'll be ready to dive back in.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope for that. Across
Lots
the
to talk
board.
about for sure. Yeah.
Yes, and we'll do a whole show of Courtney Brunn and I on just the strike and everything once this is back up and running. Anyway, so on behalf of the three of us, let me just say this real fast. My personal Facebook page was hacked by a phishing scam. We lost our Friends from Work Facebook page. I'm gonna have to recreate that, but follow us on Twitter. I'm still calling it Twitter, YouTube. Friends from Work Pod. Find us all over the internet. I'm at Dick Shoes on Twitter. Thanks for watching. Friends from Work. Catch you next time.